Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name's Gary and the World Cup groups are finally here after the worst World Cup draw in history, it has to be said. But we're not going to linger about the politics. We've got the groups and we've got England's group, which I will break down towards the end of this video because we are the last group and I'm going to go through each one of them, particularly interested in who the hosts have drawn and England's biggest rivals in this tournament. So let's get straight into it. Looking at the groups then, Mexico in Group A alongside South Africa, Korea Republic and that playoff winner, which will be a European playoff. And that playoff winner is between the Czech Republic, Macedonia, Ireland and Denmark. Now, if Denmark drop into that, the hosts have got a tough group there. You know, South Africa, a little bit of an unknown. Korea often have turned up in World Cups. It's not the easiest group for Mexico, it has to be said, but I think they'll be quietly pleased with that. Going into Group B, Canada, the playoff winner there again, Qatar and Switzerland. Now, this could be a really, really tough group for Canada, and they have probably got the hardest out of the host nations, with Switzerland a tough group. Qatar, okay, yep, you'd fancy Canada there, but that playoff winner is either going to be Italy, Northern Ireland, Wales or Bosnia, which is a very, very tough potential group there for Canada. They'll be a little bit disappointed with that, it has to be said, but remember, the top three teams could go through, so a good result against Qatar, and then maybe as host nations, they're going to overperform, hopefully. Hopefully they can pick up a point against either one of those teams there. And they've still got a chance of going through. Group C is Brazil, Morocco, Haiti and Scotland. Absolutely brilliant. If Haiti are going to beat any team at this World Cup, it was going to be Scotland out of that pot. So honestly, Scotland are going to have to go some to get out of this group. They really are, because Morocco and Brazil, for me, are comfortable favourites within that. Group D, of course, the final hosts, USA, Paraguay, Australia, and then the potential playoff winner. And Path C could be Turkey, Romania, Slovakia, or Kosovo. So I think if it's Turkey or Slovakia, they might struggle there because, look, I've seen already Americans and American pundits saying that this is a very easy group for them. Genuinely, I've heard that. I don't think it's very easy at all. I mean, Paraguay will be a very tough opposition. And Australia, I think, I wouldn't say people are sleeping in Australia, but I think people are underestimating them. And I could easily see a group here where the US possibly win 2 out of the 3 games, or I could see it where they could lose all 3. And I've said this right from the start, if any of the host nations are most likely to succeed or flop, I think that's the US on both fronts there. I think they're the most likely of the host nations to have a really strong tournament, but then I also think they're the most likely to turn up and have an absolute stinker. And I think this group is a very even group for them, which may or may not go in their favour. Germany in Group E alongside Curacao, Ivory Coast and Ecuador. Ivory Coast and Ecuador, I think, are 2 solid teams there. That's still a relatively tough group for Germany. You would expect the Germans to go through there and for it to be a battle between Ivory Coast and Ecuador. I think that might be one though where, you know, Germany are the lowest ranked team at that pot 1, so there could be some surprises in there with Ivory Coast and Ecuador. Let's see. In Group F is the Netherlands, Japan, playoff winner B and Tunisia. Already, that is a difficult group, regardless of who the playoff winner is. It's so annoying that these groups aren't complete. The fact that these players are done after the draw is just madness to me. But Japan, for a lot of people, are often dark horses in tournaments. Tunisia, as English fans will know, you know, a tricky opponent at a World Cup. You would still back the Netherlands to win that group despite who may come into that playoff spot, but it's not the easiest, but you would expect Netherlands to go through. Belgium in Group G alongside Egypt, Iran and New Zealand. Many people are saying that this is the easiest group out of what one of the top seeds could have drawn. I think Egypt are a decent side and I don't think people should underestimate them at all. I think Iran and New Zealand though are there to make up the numbers, I'm afraid. I think they should be easy 6 points there for Belgium and therefore guaranteeing them progression through to the next round. It would be a huge shock. Despite Belgium not being at their best, it would be a massive shock if Belgium don't get out of that group. Group H is Spain, Cape Verde, Saudi Arabia and Uruguay. When I was watching this, Uruguay came out first in this group and then that left Spain with the potential of still getting a Norway or someone like that, or potentially the playoff in Italy. They'll be pleased with that. They'll be pleased with that. Probably most people's favourites, it has to be said. Cape Verde, Saudi Arabia, they're going to struggle to get out of that alongside Uruguay and Spain, and I'd expect Spain to walk that. I think Spain and Uruguay, by the way, is a great game. game. I really look forward to seeing that. Group I, most people, and I said this in my previous videos, I don't think groups of death are a thing now really, but this is as close as I think you can get to it, and that's France, Senegal, the playoff winner who one of 4 teams, and Norway, and obviously that playoff winner isn't a European one. So that 4th team coming into that is just honestly served up an absolute dog's dinner of a group, but Senegal and Norway are tough opponents. There's no doubt about it. I think France have by far the toughest group that you could have asked for a pot 1 team. I think that's tricky. I think that's really, really tricky. Ultimately, though, alongside Spain, France are most people's favourites. So you would expect them to navigate that group. But yeah, there's a few good games to be had in there. Senegal, Norway, France, Senegal, France, Norway. They're really good games they are. So really look forward to that group. Group J is Argentina, Algeria, Austria and Jordan. And again, I think Argentina and Austria, I think this is probably the most straightforward group. I think those 2 teams should be very optimistic about getting through there. I think Algeria could cause an upset maybe. Jordan, I think they're there to make up the numbers, sorry. Group K, though, Portugal, winner of Playoff 1, Uzbekistan and Colombia. That winner of Playoff 1 is going to be a European team. So that could be a trickier group for Portugal, because I think any European team that qualifies will be a good side. Colombia as well in the same group. It's potentially, a challenging group there for Portugal. It has to be said. But again, you would expect them to go through. And finally, Group L, England, Croatia, Ghana and Panama. There's something about England and Croatia, isn't there? We just keep being drawn together. Of course, England opened a campaign previously at the Euros against Croatia where we won 1-0. Most people in England, though, the reaction was, oh, good, I'm glad we've got Croatia. We can finally get some revenge. I think people forget that there has been a couple of games since they beat us in that World Cup semi-final, which England have won. I think England have the beating of Croatia at the moment. But look, out of those pot 2 teams, they were the highest ranked pot 2 team within it. If there weren't 3 hosts, Croatia would have been a pot 1 team. So look, this Croatia team, they're difficult. And ultimately, as an England fan, they've given me some of my worst moments as an England fan, which is the semi-final defeat and obviously the defeat where McLaren was sacked because we didn't even get to the Euros. So Croatia are a team that have definitely in the past upset England. I still fancy England though. Ghana, I think people are looking at Ghana as a team from maybe 10 years ago or so. I think, what are they, 70 odd in the world now? You'd expect England to come through that, wouldn't you? Semenyo, as we know, is a very, very good player, and they do have other players, but look how stacked England are. And then you look at Croatia, and the thing is about Croatia, everyone's been saying that they've been an Asian team for the past 5-6 years. They're still going. Never underestimate them. Modric is 40 or whatever he is now, but look, he's still a top class player. They're still a top team. You would just fancy England, wouldn't you, still? And it's not the easiest group England could have got. I think it's a challenging group. I think it's an exciting group as well, where, Panama, I expect us to beat Panama, even though Panama, I believe, are ranked higher than Ghana in the FIFA World Rankings by quite some way as well. We did absolutely batter Panama, as you may or may not remember, the last time we drew them at the World Cup, which was a 6-1 victory. I think Panama are better than them. England have to be overwhelming favourites, and we can't fear this group if we have ambitions of wanting to win this tournament. So I'm not saying there can't be upsets. Would Thomas Tuchel take a draw in that opening game and then look to beat Ghana and Panama in those second 2? I think that's what Gareth Southgate would have done. I think the key is, because England and Croatia is that opening match on Wednesday the 17th of June, it means that one of those 2 teams, or both, are starting without a victory, and we know how important it is to start a World Cup on a positive note. And I think if we lose that game, going into the second game against Ghana, it's very quickly can change into a much more stressful occasion than what it probably needs to be. But look, I expect England certainly not to lose against Croatia. They would still be heavy favourites to win it. Croatia, of course, could get an upset, and then it does put pressure on us. And with Thomas Tuchel, his first tournament in charge, the pressure will grow much quicker than probably would do under any other manager. A big factor as well is that he isn't English. But look, I was pleased with that. I was pleased with that. As the draw was being made, I think we could have ended up with a lot worse. A hell of a lot worse. Weirdly, I would rather have Croatia than maybe an Italy or a Norway, to be honest with you. So yeah, I mean, I'm so glad. I am so pleased this draw has now been complete. I think it's an exciting World Cup. The groups of death are a thing of the past, but look, I think this is brilliant. One thing that needs to change, though, is the draw rules. They're just need to chuck them all in a pot, don't they, and just draw them all out as you would normally. I hate all these seedings. I hate all this person can't play that, or these people need to be avoided, or whatever. It's an absolute nonsense. The groups almost drew themselves. There were that many rules. But let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. As an England fan, it's bittersweet. I'm pleased. I'm not underestimating these teams at all. I still put England as heavy favourites, and we were always going to be heavy favourites, no matter who we drew out of those three pots. But look, we've got to go there with the optimism of topping this group. If you're new to the channel and you've liked this content and I keep appearing on your feed, please hit that subscribe button. Over 90% of you are not subscribed. The videos are going to keep coming now between now and the World Cup. I cannot wait. This does potentially now open up those friendlies against Uruguay and Japan for England early next year. So watch this space. Some exciting things in the works in the background. Merry Christmas to everybody. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all on my next video.